Chat with Nobody Else's Auto. It is 7 o'clock Central Time, Tuesday evening time for Toy Tuesday. I see we got Daniel on with us. Brandon's on with us already. Glad you guys made it. Daniel, let's talk about the change in the classic car industry now. I think 90% early 2000 cars are going to be collectible. Yes, I think they are going to be collectible. There's no doubt about that. Bill's here with us. We'll try to work some of that into Sunday night, Daniel, where we can get into some more details on some of the 90s and early 2000s era vehicles. But I almost guarantee you a lot of them are going to be collectible because I'm already starting to see it. So we'll pencil that in for Sunday night chat. Number one nut, we're just getting rolling. David W. is here with us. But that's a good topic, Daniel. We'll start penciling that in, and we'll work on that for Sunday night so I can put some notes together and kind of collect my thoughts on that. Martin Designs made it. But tonight on Toy Tuesday, what we're going to check out is Joe's been wanting to do some World War II stuff. So that's what we're going to do. We'll start a little World War II stuff tonight. Shop Cat's here. Glad you made it. I actually started getting stuff ready tonight for this and realized I don't have a lot of my World War II stuff here. Kim's here, so glad you're here with us as well. Hope you're feeling better. But so we're going to start working a little bit of that in. Like I said, I just didn't realize, Cement Surfer made it tonight, that I didn't have as much World War II stuff here in this shop as I thought I did. I've got a lot of it in other buildings, some at the house. That's right, Daniel. That Chevy sign's off of a dealership, and it lights up. It's a pretty cool piece. So Doug's here with us. But anyway, I do have some World War II stuff here. I thought we'd start with a little bit of it tonight. I've got a lot more we'll start working in because Joe's been wanting to see it. What year was that Chevy sign? Yeah, 90s, early 2000s is about exactly right for that sign. That came out of a dealership that was bought out in 08. And they sold some of that stuff off then. So I'm assuming that should be right in that late 90s, early 2000s era for that sign. Peter's here. Glad you made it tonight from Oz. So like I said, I thought I had a fairly calm week to start with, but I actually didn't. No, I don't want to sell the Chevy sign. Very seldom will I sell a sign, and if it's gas, oil, or dealership, I don't think I've ever sold a gas, oil, or dealership sign. But so I started working some of this stuff in. Well, I thought I had kind of a calm week, was going to be ready for tonight. I got a call at 8 o'clock yesterday morning that on a farm cleanup that I'd kind of heard about. The guy had mentioned there was a few trucks out there. He called me at 8 o'clock yesterday morning. He said, iron's dropping. He said, I've got to get all the metal off this farm today. Ken Nolan made it. So glad you're here with us too. But I ended up hauling all day yesterday off that farmstead. I got 3 pretty good loads out of there. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be bringing you a walk-around video at the farmstead as they were cleaning things up before we loaded the trucks. Daniel, why do some dealerships have a bunch of vehicles in the backyard and not even for sale? I mean, there could be a multitude of answers to that. They could be, ones that are waiting to be reconditioned, ready to be sold, things that haven't been, even their new car, they may not have been prepped yet and to where they're ready for sale, things like that. So there could be a thousand different answers to why they have cars in the back that quote-unquote aren't for sale. But since Joe's been asking, we've talked about it a lot. We'll start working in some World War II stuff. Like I said, unfortunately, I didn't have as much here as I thought I did. And after hauling cars all day yesterday, I was playing a little bit of catch-up today. So we'll check out some of this stuff that I've got here. We'll check out a few pieces of B-29 memorabilia tonight. And we'll keep working some of this stuff in if you guys are interested in it. There again, let me know. Let me know what you think. If you think it's cool, just let me know. If you don't want to do it, we don't have to do it. So, Daniel, I see old junk in the back of a Chevy dealership in New York that used to be... Yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of dealerships that have that stuff. Some of it, maybe they may be ones they towed in and didn't get claimed. I mean, there's a thousand different answers to why dealerships have cars sitting behind them that aren't on the lot for sale. But we'll start off with, I've got a really cool black and white picture we're going to look at. Then we're actually going to look at an original student notebook for the B-29 Flying Fortress. So I'm a huge fan of B-29s. That was one of the planes that first made me fall in love with warbirds. In the late 90s, Fifi was here in Great Bend. I'm going to say right around 99, maybe 2000. Fifi was here. And went out, my dad and I went out, and I went through that plane, and I just fell in love with it. Always been in love with warbirds since then. I've been to Oshkosh a couple times, but that's what started me collecting especially warbird stuff from World War II. And as you study the warbirds, the technology, what it took to mass produce these planes, the technological advances that we saw in a very short period of time. What is my tow vehicle? I run Dodges with Cummins in them, is what I use to haul with. I've got a pair of them. So that's what got me started on this World War II stuff, and I've got a lot more stuff that will definitely work in if you guys dig it. So we'll start with a little bit tonight. Brandon likes B-29s. I like B-29s. He likes B-25s. I've got some wheels off of B-25 too. We'll start working some of that stuff in if you guys dig it. The B-25 is a beautiful airplane as well. But tonight, like I said, I had some B-29 pieces. I thought we'd start here, feel it out, see what you guys think. Number one, is this segment called In the Air Force Battle Station, Bombs Away or Top Gun? We can probably bombs away if we're going to talk about B-29s tonight. No, actually, my Cummins are pretty decent trucks. I've got an 02 that I ordered new with 90,000 miles on it, and I've got a 12 that I bought new as well. They both sit inside every night. So, but the technological innovations, the advancements that we saw in such a short window, the mass production of these planes, what they did with what they had in such a short period of time is amazing. Eloy made it tonight. And that's also part of what made me fall in love with it. I've ridden in a B-17 a couple of times. Not my dashboards are good. Of course, that 02's probably spent 2 months outside overnight when we were out of town. Other than that, it's been inside. BW needs some naval gauges for his gasser build. I've got gauges, but nothing that I really want to sell. So, let's see. Martin Design's brother has a 2005 Dodge he pulls with. Yeah, those Cummins are great hauling trucks. That's why I like them. Plus, I worked for Chrysler. I drove them for company cars for a while, too. But big job made it tonight. Glad you're here with us. But that's what made me fall in love with these warbirds. And like I said, I've been to Oshkosh. I've ridden a B-17 twice. And riding in one of these planes really puts it into perspective as to what these guys dealt with. Shopcat, I spoke with the Royal Canadian Air Force Korean Mitchell vet. He takes up the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum and still gets the bird down between the hangars. Yeah, what these guys went through is crazy. But riding in that B-17, that thing's a tin can. Literally, they are tin cans. And you're 20,000 feet above the enemy with them shooting at you in these essentially tin cans. And the B-17s weren't pressurized. The B-29s were at least pressurized. But amazing what these guys went through. So that's why I fell in love with this stuff. And I've got a lot of different stuff we can check out. So I'm curious as to what your opinion is when we get into some of this stuff. But let's check a few of these pieces out tonight. We'll work some more in if you guys like it, because we've got a lot of stuff to do. Daniel, do you know anything about restoration work? Some, just depends on which pieces we're talking about. Big job. Got Mother viewing with him right now, so that's good. But let's check out a few things here. Old School's on with us. Let's check these pieces out, and then we can talk about them a little more. We're going to start off with just a black and white picture. Oh, good. Old School got his can. Glad it finally made it. This is a picture that I don't know much about. We went to an estate auction. Daniel, military question. In the 80s, did GM have a deal to make square body military trucks? I don't know if they had a deal, but they made a lot of them, so they had to have something. Shopcat, I've crawled around the Alberta Aviation Museum's Mitchell and Bomber Command Museum Lancaster. It's crazy. That's right. It's crazy how cramped some of those were. Did they have B-17s in Kansas? Actually, Kansas was more B-29s. B-29s and B-26s more so than B-17s. Do I have any gun turret balls? No, I don't have any of those. Memphis Belle, she was a B-17. Can Nolan's here. But this picture here, and I've got a lot of crazy stuff from this auction. We went to this auction, I think, in 2013 or so. I got a call to pick up some salvage cars, and they were like 50 miles away, and they weren't worth going to get. So I told the lady, let me know when she got to town, and I'd have somebody come pick them up for her. And she was coming to town on a specific weekend because they were having her brother's estate auction. So I asked her what were they selling, and she said basic household stuff. Doug, you have to check out the Show Nova. There was an episode called Frozen in Time where a B-29 to rescue a B-29. That's exactly right, Doug. And to be honest with you, Doug, that is another reason I fell in love with B-29s. That was the other reason, other than Fifi, was Keybird. I saw that show 10 or 15 years ago. That's actually what made me want to go out and check out Fifi when she was here. The Keybird, and you can watch it on YouTube because I've watched it. It is in segments. Yeah, I know you won't love the ending. That's why I haven't been giving it away. I thought about giving it away, but that would kind of ruin it for everybody. So that's why I didn't want to give away the ending. But yes, the ending is not good. But I saw that show on Nova. That was what made me interested in when Fifi was here. That's why I had to go check her out. So Old School spotted a 67 Lincoln today. He's got a video up on that if you want to check it out. So we went to this call. This lady calls about this auction. She says, we're selling my brother's estate. And I said, what do you have? Daniel, who remembers the Pontiac Grand Prix PV8? That I'm not sure about. But I asked her what they were selling. She said, oh, typical household stuff and furniture and appliances. And she said he did a lot of research on the air bases in Kansas, and there was some aviation stuff. So I asked what the auction company was. Cement Surfer. I was in the Air Force at Minot. I was issued thermal overalls that had tags specific to B-29s. Had to return them, though. So I asked her who the auction company was, and she told me, well, I looked it up. They didn't even, the auction company in 2013 didn't even have a website. So we went down there on a whim. We actually took the 02 Dodge down, and we had to come back at 3 and get the 12 Dodge and a 20-foot trailer to go back. But that's where this picture came from. And I bought 4 or 5 of these at that auction. I don't know much about them other than it's a great picture. All these super cool B-29s on the tarmac. Martin Designs, Old School, what's your channel? I think it just is Old School with a K, just like you spell it, I believe. So I don't know where this was at. Daniel, is the Pontiac Grand Prix GXP the failing point of the transmission? That I don't know. But this I thought was just a great picture. And what's also cool, we got this old Woody sitting here on the tarmac with them as well. You know, you can see a ton of other old vehicles off here in the background. But just amazing to see all these B-29s lined up in a great print. Now, if you guys weren't aware, like we talked about with the air bases in Kansas, Great Bend was a B-29 base. So there is some memorabilia and stuff in my area, and that's how I've been able to find some of the stuff that I've got. But I thought this picture was great, showing all these B-29s lined up in one row. Now, the next piece we were going to check out tonight, Louis Fan Guy, good evening. How's it going? Love the pictures of the old vehicles. Along with these B-29s, I've got an original B-29 Flying Fortress student notebook. Now, one thing that's very interesting about this that I just actually noticed, number one is froze up, so hopefully everybody else is still feeding okay. This is Boeing Flying Fortress School B-29 division. Now, actually, the Flying Fortress, as we all know, was the B-17. So now this says B-29 on it. So this was probably very, very early, prior to them actually calling them the Super Fortress. That's what it will work into Sunday night, Daniel, is late 90s, early 2000s of collectible vehicles. Yeah, I think we'll work that in for Sunday. But this is a pretty cool notebook. It's pretty thick and a ton of technical stuff in it. Restricted documents. Once again, Flying Fortress School B-29 division. So I don't know if these were B-17 guys who were training into 29s or exactly why that was called that. But tons of schematics, tons of cool stuff. No, number one says it's just -20 there. So they're literally frozen up there. But no, it's actually, believe it or not, it was pretty decent today here. It was in the 50s here today, so. But these old notebooks, all kinds of restricted documents, because this was happening, right in the height of World War II. And you look at some of this stuff, these schematics are hand-drawn. All this training these guys had to go through, a lot of this stuff, if there were issues, troubleshooting, subdivisions, power supply, amplifier, bridge system. Because if these guys were in the air, they couldn't just stop at the local service station and have it checked. Trouble chart carburetor. These guys had to have some idea of how every system on those planes worked. Electrical, bomb control circuits. April 25th, 1944. More of the electrical documents, instrumentation. When you're 30,000 feet in the air above the enemy and you get hit or you've got a system issue, you can't just have somebody stop and check it for you. They had to figure it out. They had to make it work because they had to get that bird home. Because that bird didn't get home, they didn't get home. That's why these were all restricted documents at that time. Because if there was an issue, they had to just figure it out best they could. Try to keep that bird in the air. Try to keep it in one piece. Try not to get shot down and get that thing home. That's part of the reason this stuff just fascinates me. Is what these guys went through, what they had to deal with. Doug likes it. Well, I'm glad you like it, Doug. I hope you guys are enjoying this stuff. Like I said, it's definitely a little different than our regular car stuff. Brandon, Milwaukee, Oregon had a B-17 on top of a gas station. Yep, that's right. They actually had their own oil cans, Bomber Oil. Doug does dig it. He likes the history. That's great. And I hope all you guys are enjoying this stuff because it is different. Martin digs it good. I'm glad you guys like it. I'm glad that, the feedback is good and you guys so far have liked what we're checking out. If there's something you want to look for specifically, just let me know and we can definitely work some of it in. Old school, let's see some toys. I don't have any toys out tonight. Like I said, Joe's been asking for World War II stuff, so I thought, well, let's start working a little bit of that stuff in as well. Restricted subassembly breakdown diagram. There's a lot going on there. Martin Designs, wish this was in my history class. Brandon says these are toys. But I mean, just all the stuff. I mean, these guys had to know every bit of this. Some of those symbols would make great decals on hot rods. That's true, number one. They definitely would. But I mean, that was a big, big bird to know and understand all these systems. Operations. Daniel, my favorite car in the movie is Car 1, a Snot Rod. Weights, balances, handling, replenishing, pre-flight. I mean, all this stuff. 50-hour checks, maintenance. This is pretty cool. Shows a diagram with the wing on it from a side view. Weight and balance. Weight and balance, obviously, huge part of flying one of these big birds. These things are ginormous. Jim, what plane hit the Empire State Building in 1945? That I do not remember. I remember hearing about that, but I don't remember the story on it. But I have heard about it. But there again, these planes dealt with all kinds of different things. And weights and balances was huge. You had obviously a huge amount of weight just in fuel. You had to have enough to make the run, but you also had to be able to take off. You had all that payload of the bombs, things like that. You had to deal with the enemy. You had to deal with any attacks that were forced on you. You had to deal with engines going out. If you had damage or bomb changes or fuel changes, things like that, all had to be factored into this. Cross section of the wing. Daniel, is the people that run vehicle safety in the EPA car people? I don't think they're car people that run that in the EPA for sure. Prop governor control circuit. Look at that. Just for the prop. Jim's got a small piece of aluminum from it. That's cool. Prop feathering circuit. Cowl flaps. I mean, this all had to be understood. These guys had to know all this, just in case something went haywire. Do I have a restricted aircraft field guide? No, I do not. Fuse location diagram. I mean, just absolute crazy amount of stuff going on in these planes that these guys had to know and understand. Weight and balance crew movement. Something else to think about. You got 10 guys on there. They have to be strategically positioned. If they're all in one place at one time, that affects their weight and balance situation. B-29 operations, maintenance, and flight forms. Yeah, lots of hand-drawn stuff. Brandon, more fuses than a 51 Cadillac. There's some truth to that, too. Like I said, so much stuff in here. That's right, Doug. It's called the Super Fortress. It had to be huge. I think they were 100 feet long, if I remember correctly, right in that area. Power plant operations. Old School says, my brain can't take this. Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing what these guys did, what they studied. Maintenance charts. Doug says he hasn't seen one in person. They are impressive. Actually here 3 years ago, actually here in Great Bend, they had Fifi and Doc here. So that was pretty cool seeing two of those birds sitting side by side. And like I said, absolutely no way to cover all of this stuff. We're getting to the back of the notebook, so I'll kind of skim a few more things here we can check out, and then we'll get ready to wrap up. Daniel, what was the first Cadillac to have heated seats? It wasn't in the 60s. I'm sure it wasn't that early. 80s or 90s, I'd say. Engine operations. Got an interesting looking chart coming up. Let's see what this one is. Weight and balance clearance form. Look at all this stuff. Crew cargo. The differences. They had to track all this. Airplane weighing form. Date weighed, June 14th, 1944. Number one, lowriders love a copy of the hydraulic system and part numbers. That's true. Ben, on my 37 Street Rod, they really gained a lot of knowledge. It was crazy. That's one thing that fascinates me about all this stuff. The technology that they... Old School says he already's going to just admit he'd failed the test. So, but this technology that came about in such a short amount of time is just nuts. But they had, all these different weights they had to track. They had to know, look, oil in airplane, total weight 74,248 pounds. How much oil? 2,550 pounds. They had to understand all of that stuff. Peter says it makes his head hurt too. And these guys had, these guys were in their early 20s, 18 to 25 years old, probably. If you were close to 30 flying in World War II, you were one of the old timers. Most of these guys were in their early 20s, and they had to learn this stuff. They had to know this stuff. But if they didn't, that was definitely affected the possibility of them coming home. As much as you hate to look at it that way, that did. Look at these worksheets. Flight report. Engineering. Oil. Aircraft and engine time record. Pilots and mechanics notes. They had a tack reading issue. Tack oscillating at high RPM. Do I know how many of those were built? I think around 1,000, 1,300, something like that. B-29s. I did know, but I can't pull it right off the top of my head right now for some reason. 2 remaining flying, Fifi and Doc. Doc actually lives in Wichita, about 100 miles from me, and I've seen them both. That's right, old school. Actually, these planes didn't deal with the Luftwaffe. B-29s were never in the ETO area. Air crews had weigh-ins every day during deployment, it says number 1. That's true. They had to track all that. But the B-29 was never in the European theater. It was only in the Pacific theater of operations is where the B-29 was at. This was June 6th of 1943 flight report. June 5th of 1943, tracking all of this critical information on these planes. Another page to that. That's right, old school. The B-29s were in the Pacific theater, so that was who they bombed Japan. So, yeah, Doug loves the handwritten notes. Yeah, it's a piece of history. It's a look back in time. Personnel information, inspections, pre-flight, daily, 25-hour, 50-hour. Airplane number 41-1004. We could actually tie this sheet to that particular plane. Maintenance and inspection form. Doug, my grandfather once had a handwritten diary from a Civil War soldier. Wow. 444th Heavy Bomb Group, 667th Heavy Bombs. Engine model R3350, the Wright R3350s. Old school, crazy. The U.S. had to fight the Japanese and Germans at the same time. Yep, they did. That's right, Dan says it was a simpler time. Everybody gets offended anymore. Brandon, 3,970 B-29s. Okay, so they built a lot more than I was thinking off the top of my head. Thanks for checking that one out for us. And obviously, like we said, 2 flying today. There's some flight logs from aircraft 41-1004, June of 1943. And number 1 says, and the Italians too, yep. Operations again, pre-flight, after warm-up, stopping. I mean, all this stuff was broken down. These guys had to know this stuff cold. They couldn't guess. They couldn't look it up. They couldn't carry cheat sheets with them. They had to know it, period. They just had to know every single bit of this and know it very, very well. One more chart that we're going to check out. This is a cool one. The turbo supercharger control system, 4-engine wiring diagram. This is what controlled the turbo superchargers for all 4 engines. Not an easy task. An awful lot to that. So, what's the turbo supercharger? That's exactly what they were. They were turbo superchargers. They ran off of exhaust and a belt. And maybe we'll get one of those out one of these nights. If anybody wants to see a turbo supercharger, maybe we'll get some of those out and check some of those out one of these nights on Toy Tuesday, because those are some pretty cool memorabilia as well. But that's quite a system to know and to understand, because if there was an issue in flight, you had to understand what was going on with that engine. You had to be able to try to control that engine. B-29s were very well known for exhaust flange issues, which created engine fires. And that was a huge problem with them. If you didn't understand that bird and what you needed to do in the case of an emergency, you were going to be in a world of hurt on trying to get that bird home safely. So, that's what I had for tonight. A little different. Looks like a lot of you did dig it. Old school Chad should run for office. I don't think I want to run for office. But like I said, Joe had been asking about it on Sunday night. We had talked about it. I thought, well, let's work in a few pieces, check some of this stuff out. Doug says, got to run, but thanks. Glad you made it. But there again, I'm interested in your opinions. I'm interested in your feedback as to if you guys dig this stuff. We can definitely do some more of it, start working some more of it in. To me, I love it. I love the technology. I love the history. What we just looked at, some guy did in 1943 and 1944 while he was training and learning a B-29 to more than likely end up in the Pacific Theater and possibly being on bomb runs over Japan. So it's a piece of history that happened. We can hold it right here. We can look at it. Bill says you learn something new every day. That's for sure. But this book is Shopcat says Rusty James liked it. Shopcat likes it. Cement Surfer. At some point, the engines began to become power plants. Maybe in 1944 they were still engines. I call them engines. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But what I like about this is we just looked through this notebook. Old school can never collect World War II stuff. Way too pricey. Plus too many fakes. Yeah, and there is a lot of fakes in some of this stuff. But this is what I dig about this. It's paper. It's not extremely valuable. But we just looked at a snapshot in time. We looked at a snapshot of 1943 and 1944 in the middle of the war, of what these guys were doing, what they were up against, what, training, learning these things, these extremely complex, extremely complicated systems. These guys are 19, 20, 21 years old, and they're saying, learn this, know every single thing in this book, every single thing about this brand new, extremely technical aircraft. And if you don't learn it, you might not come back. And that's what those guys were up against. It's crazy to think about it in today's world, but that was the reality at the time. That's right. And Old School says now we can't even beat a virus. That's true. But that's what I like about it. That's what this is the history. BW did make it. He did get out of the garage long enough to catch a little bit of us. So this history that we just looked at, and I've got more of this stuff, and I've got some stuff that's even more complex than this, actually. Number one, it was all hand-drawn, even the fonts and numbers on the cover pages. And some dudes went to college to draw like that, yeah. And that's what fascinates me about it. This was anybody that worked on a B-29 had this. I've got some more stuff that we'll get out sometime here in the near future, that there were only a handful of people in the world that had these classified documents at that time. It was that highly classified. It was that top secret. And I've got some notebooks on that stuff that we'll get into here one of these evenings as well. So I hope you guys dug it. I hope you guys liked it. If you don't, let me know. If you do, let me know. Daniel, do you have any dealership documentation, showcase colors of the models? I've got a lot of showroom albums that break all that stuff down depending on what you were looking for. But it's cool stuff. I dig this stuff. I personally love it. We'll get some more out. But like I said, definitely curious as to what everybody's opinion is on whether we want to do some more of this World War II stuff. So, Old School says YouTube channel Memoirs of World War II has a lot of veterans interviewed on it. So that's cool. So great. That would definitely be worth checking out. Number one says likes bombs away. So anyway, what else is coming up tomorrow night? I'll get the video up that I shot yesterday while I was out working around that farmyard, getting those vehicles drug in. Plus, I got another video coming up that may be a bonus video this week. Peter, see you next week. Glad you made it. My loader's still down, like we've been talking about. Hasn't even made it in the door of the shop yet. It's been there for over a month. So, had to go back to basics. I've got an old winch truck that I've had for years that I had let a buddy of mine borrow several years ago. Well, he used it for a little bit, but it had mainly been sitting behind his shop for about the last 7 years. So I went and picked that up last week, and I got it fired up today. So I did a couple of short clips on getting that thing running today. I'll stitch those together. I don't know if we'll throw that up Friday night or just throw it up as a bonus video. So I got 3 yesterday, but the problem was I just bought all 3 of them yesterday, so they weren't on my list. So I bought them and picked them up yesterday, so I didn't get any further behind, but I didn't gain anything on my list. My 74 Z28, I haven't had time to deal with it. It's right back there on the lift. but that's as far as it's gotten. So I want to try to get on that. My dad's got a 39 Cadillac that we want to try to get some stuff done on over this winter. So I'm hoping to get some stuff done on that 39 Cadillac as well. Plus try to get that Camaro going. Plus I want to get back on my 78 F-250 Super Cab as well. So lots of big ideas and not enough hours in the day for all of it sometimes. But that's how it goes. We all understand that. So anyway, got that coming up. The farmstead walk around, the farm cleanup walk around tomorrow. I've got the NAPCO video shot. I've got the video on working on the old winch truck. And the winch truck's pretty cool because it's an old Ford as well, and now it's actually kind of old. So if we get 8,000 subscribers for January 1, give away an engine still bolted in. I don't know how we could do that. I don't know what would be the best plan of attack on that. Daniel, the 68 Eldorado had heated seats. Okay, who edits the videos? I do them. I shoot them, I stitch them. I don't really do much editing at all. Most of my videos are pretty much exactly how I shot them, other than when I have to like stitch clips together. Like tomorrow night, video of the winch truck. Yeah, like I shot some of it when I was, obviously I worked on it for 2 or 3 hours today, so I don't have a 2 or 3 hour video. So I shot a little bit here, shot a little bit there. I'll stitch those together. But do I ever see icy or slush puppy stuff? No, not really. I don't have any icy or slush puppy stuff. So that stuff I just stitch together. But as far as a lot of editing and a lot of cleanup, I don't really do it. What you guys see is pretty much how I shoot it. I don't really do much any different. I try to think about what I'm going to say and what I'm going to shoot before I do it, and that's why I roll it. Daniels, is why you don't do live streams on the yard on YouTube. I do live streams from the yard on YouTube. It's been a couple months since we've done one, but yeah, I've done 2 or 3 of them this year. And if we get another decent day, it's about time to do another one, another live walk around from the yard. But yeah, I do them from the yard a handful of times a year. So we can definitely work some of that stuff in as well. But anyway, you can go back and watch. There was one we did 2 or 3 months ago, and there was one I did last spring. Those are both still active, and you can go watch those anytime if you go look at the live videos. But so we do definitely work some of those in. So anyway, farmyard cleanup tomorrow night. I'll get the winch truck video in there somehow. I did get it running finally today, so I still got a lot of work to do on it, but it is running again. So that was a good sign. Like I said, got the NAPCO shot. I picked all the stuff yesterday: 41 Chevy truck, 63 Ford truck, square body Chevy. I've got this. I picked up a 61 C10 short bed last Saturday. Got to do a video on that. I'm getting way behind on getting this stuff shot and getting it out there for you guys. So lots of stuff happening. Going to go try to get some more stuff tomorrow, but doesn't seem to end. So anyway, I need to bail off. I'm going to get back to work. I know all you guys got stuff to do yet this evening. Thanks for swinging by. Appreciate you spending what turned out to be quite a bit of time tonight. So far, all the comments I saw tonight on the World War II stuff was good. So we'll take it as that. 223 Ford, that 63 is a V8. So I know it won't. I know it's not the one we're looking for. So anyway, thanks for being here. I appreciate you guys swinging by. Keep me posted with your opinion on it, and we'll go from there. Jim, you need a break. Take Christmas off. I'll probably honestly be working all weekend. So doesn't really matter to me. There's too much stuff to do to take the whole weekend off. That isn't going to happen. So anyway, I hope everybody does have a Merry Christmas. I hope everybody has a good weekend. And we'll get some of those videos up. And be sure to be ready. Any Cadillac Elantes? I don't have any Elantes. Brandon says, another great show, Father Chad. Thanks. I appreciate it. I can't believe the support you guys have for what I do. It makes it fun. And all your participation is what makes it great. So thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you tomorrow night on another video, and definitely hope to see you live Sunday night at 7 o'clock Central Time for Sunday Night Live Chat. Number 1, Malakala Maka, everybody. I think that's Hawaiian, if I remember correctly. So, but anyway, have a great weekend, everybody, and we will see you again Sunday night. Thanks for watching.